Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special May 13th edition of ADP Chasing. We're joined today by special guest Hayden Winks of Underdog Fantasy to discuss his early ranking disagreements with the market. We're also debuting a new ADP Chasing intro clip for the first time. Let's hit it.
ADP Chasing is for when you watch ship chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
And the targets per outrun leagues, that's going to be really nice.
Actually, back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes. All your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a Deuce Vaughn show.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man. That's incredible. Great. Who do we give credit? Who do we give credit to for that again? That's
Zach Lanners. Awesome. Zach Lanners, who also, if people have not checked out the highlight video that we have from the first season of ADP Chasing, which is on the YouTube channel, they should check that out. He made that as well.
Wow, just incredible stuff. Hayden, thanks for joining us today. I think it's now second year in a row we've had you on as the first ADP Chasing guest of the season. How you doing?
Doing well. Excited to join Rashee Rice chasing. I've been tuning in, and it's all you guys talk about nowadays.
He's the most interesting guy to think about in the player pool right now. There is, with such little change and informational, he's really the only interesting guy to think about at this time.
I would love to talk about Rashee Rice less. Could you help us out there, Rashee?
Rashee, please. Since last week, there's been a new police report. We have another police report to talk about with Rashee Rice.
There's been a police report. There's been stuff that's come out about teams having him off their draft boards last year. There's been all sorts of stuff. So don't worry. We'll get to that later.
Sweet.
We might as well dive in now. I wanted to start, Hayden, with your ranking disagreements. You pulled this chart together, and I just want to start from a sort of macro draft landscape. We don't need to get into specific players, but my interpretation of this chart is you're much higher than the market on early running backs, say to pick 60 or 70 or so. I'm just curious how if you were drafting in these tournaments, obviously you can't, you're an underdog employee, but how would you be thinking about your macro draft strategy with respect to running back in the early rounds?
Well, I feel like the first thing I wanted to do is, after tinkering with my rankings, display them on a chart like this so I could get a feel for where I'm going to be higher on guys in general and lower on guys in general. That way I'm not just completely overloading into one position. So even though my rankings suggest I have a bunch of running backs early, I'm not taking 4 running backs in the top 8 rounds very often. So to me, it's still about the just roster construction kind of buckets and then kind of filling into that. I think that this year, just because the running back prices are down, not even exaggerating, another 2 rounds in general, I'm going to be more willing to take those guys. But I think for the first round, it's all wide receivers anyways. So it's not it's the old robust RB days where you would literally start with running back. Now it's the RB teams would be wide receiver, and then 3 running backs the next 4 or 5 rounds. So it's a totally different market now, which makes the historical data really challenging to navigate because the prices are completely different at the 2 positions that matter by far the most, running backs and wide receivers. But for the most part, no matter if I have a bunch of running backs early, if I don't have 4 or 5 wide receivers by round 7, 5 or 6 wide receivers by round 10, I've done something drastically wrong. So maybe the other takeaway would be that I'm not drafting the elite tight ends very often because I'm not willing to sacrifice wide receiver points. And I think the running back values are at a good price point. So if there was a position I was going to kind of punt off this year, it would be the tight ends.
And I think, go ahead, Crane.
Well, I was just going to ask, because it seems like your rankings pretty clearly show that you see value popping up at running back in the second round with Josh Jacobs, ETN, Henry, Pacheco, that group you have quite a bit above. But the thing that makes this year so interesting to me is that the values don't stop. So I agree with you. All these guys, Najee Harris is not someone I've ever been excited to draft. I think he's a pretty good pick this year. Zach Moss, Jonathan Brooks, Raheem Mostert, Brian Robinson, Zeke. I have no issues with any of these guys, right? So that's the tough thing, is that it's not about finding running back value. It's about maximizing the running back value you get while also kind of sticking with the principles that you laid out. We're making sure you have enough wide receiver firepower. It's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, I think that's going to determine who makes the money this year. And I think what I'm going to be doing is like the kind of boundaries, like typically, like I just listed, like 5 to 6 running or 4 to 5 wide receivers by round 7 is typically, that's been optimal every single year in best ball. So all 4 years, it's been that kind of structure. Maybe in previous years, I would have had 5. This year, I might be at 4 and kind of do one more detour in the first 10 rounds. So maybe, and I would typically only have 3 running backs through round 10. This year, if I add a Brian Robinson and a Najee Harris as my RB3s and RB4 in rounds 8 and 10, I think I would be okay with that. So
are you done at that point? Like, are you taking?
Yeah, well, if I have a 5th running back, it'll be like the last couple rounds. But I have drafted a
so
couple.
Are you going back to the hyper fragile teams, or
kind of
thinking of it that way?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't want to get like too out of the buckets though. Like we have 4 different kind of seasons now, and for the things that have been optimal every single year, I feel like staying directionally close to that and then making like slight tinkers is probably the way to approach this.
And what are the rules of thumb again for wide receivers?
Yeah, let me pull them up exactly. So this is for every single year. This has been either completely optimal or almost optimal. 4 or 5 wide receivers through round 7, 5 or 6 wide receivers through round 10, and then 7 or 8 wide receivers through round 18, which is like pretty much consensus anyways. I think there's a lot of ways we can kind of get there. But like if I drafted 4 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds, others would draft the 5th and the 6th wide receivers in round 5, round 6, no problem. I think I'm at the point where I would want to push that a little bit and kind of call it a day a little earlier than usual. Could you guys hear my cat screaming, by the way?
Yeah. I heard that.
He understands that there's someone else who actually sees the truth and beauty in Chase Brown. And so right now what he's doing is he's calling out and he's being like, look, you can try and make
Davis,
Jack Moss happen.
It's the opposite of what you think, Davis. I think he's very low on Chase Brown. I hate to break it to you.
I know. Hayden is low on Chase Brown. The cat is saying, I understand the truth and the way and the life of Chase Brown.
He's great in my screen merchant leagues where he gets
turns out you get a lot of points
all year.
Turns out you get a lot of points for being a screen merchant.
That's great. We're all in screen merchant leagues, Hayden. These are the leagues.
It is great. It is great. I would like to see a single Chase Brown run. That would be helpful, but we'll see.
I would like to see a single Zach Moss break a tackle, but then after he breaks the tackle, continue advancing the run instead of breaking the tackle and then immediately going down. Is me personally something I'd like to see.
This is why I'm drafting the running backs a little earlier though.
I will say we've made fun of Chase Brown for having one good play last year, but if you watch that screen, he literally just catches a screen pass and he has blockers in front of him and he just runs straight. Like he's fast.
It's not even an impressive play.
It's not even an impressive play. It's not an impressive play. Like any running back could have done it. So I still think
not any running back. Hey, not any running back. Ezekiel
Zeke could not do it. Yeah, Zeke could not do it. AJ Dillon couldn't do it, but besides that,
AJ Dillon could not do it. Yeah.
I mean, look, Chase Brown did have 330 rushing attempts his final season in college. I think this is not Dylan Laube, right, where he had more receiving yards than rushing yards. Really, the takeaway would be, if you wanted to not just be a religious zealot about drafting off rankings, but to use it to make market-based decisions, it would be, instead of taking Jaden Reed, Terry McLaurin, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, whomever, it would be take Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco, Kenneth Walker. Those rounds 4 or 5 running backs are, I mean, look, they are huge discounts relative to what the running back. What's the lowest the running back 12 has ever been in fantasy football? I don't think
this is
not
definitely
even close. It would not even be close.
Yeah.
It would be like 30 spots in overall rankings. Like,
I don't think the running back 12 has ever been a 5th round pick in any fantasy football contest for money ever. Yeah.
But I think it's funny because I think we're kind of way more on the same page with the running back stuff than you would think from just looking at the rankings, because your point about you have to get the receiver. So kind of what would happen if we were to do a draft is that we'd be looking at a bunch of we would take our favorite running back early, probably, or maybe a couple, but then we'd be looking at a lot of running backs as we we're like, we got to get receivers.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way it would go. But I guess my thing structurally, I'm actually kind of more curious about the tight end point that you made, because I think elite tight end is a pretty big edge this year just because the prices are way down. And I don't like the tight ends late. Like last year we had an awesome tight end class coming in. We catch the Trey McBride breakout, which, is kind of a little bit lucky that we got that. Maybe we get something like that again. I don't know. But I think that the landscape feels pretty different generally than last year. I generally also like elite tight end as a strategy, so I'm kind of maybe biased towards it from the jump. But if I go, let's say 4 wide receivers, and then a tight end in round 5, and then let's say, maybe I get another wide receiver in round 6. So now I'm 5 wide receivers and a tight end through 6 rounds. I can get like David Montgomery as my running back 1. That seems like
it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Like I just did that today. I grabbed Dave Montgomery in the 7th round. I think it was a Lamar Andrews build, so it was a little less strong at wide receiver. Yeah, but it was 4 wide receivers: Lamar, Andrews, and David Montgomery. I'm having a tough time not doing that. So I guess what I would be curious to get more of your thoughts on, like, don't grab the elite tight end, grab the running back, and then how those builds end up looking different.
The kind of 1v1 is like, would you rather have Trey McBride or Isaiah Pacheco in like that 4th, 5th kind of turn? And I would much rather have like the Pacheco and then go from there. And the point about the late round tight ends being worse, which they are a little bit worse this year. It's also because to me, the late round running backs, like the running back class this year was really bad. And there's a ton of wide receivers, like day 1, day 2 wide receivers in like the 6th, 7th, 8th, all the way to the 18th round. Where I'm kind of flipping it where like, I wanted to be drafting the kind of more veteran running backs because there's less rookie running backs like later on. So it's kind of like the same point that you're making with the tight ends, where you want to draft them early because we have a less influx of rookie tight ends late. Well, I'm looking for the rookie running backs. Like our guys this year are 6th rounders, like Kamani Vidal and Tyrone Tracy.
But a lot of those guys, a lot of those rookie running backs who like have like shitty draft capital landed in like deserts of available skill. Like
Kamani bad, but it's still bad in general. It's still really bad in general. Like we can kind of spin zone it that Tyrone Tracy has to be Singletary, but then you still have the running back for the Giants.
I mean, what about the spin zone? What about the spin zone, Hayden? That the Overton window for running backs have shifted because teams are just so over it that like what used like 5 years ago, a day 4 running back like might not even make the team. Now, like a round 5 running back, like Bucky Irving is just like gonna be the 2nd running back on the Buccaneers when the season starts. Like they're like, we'll just go fill this with.
We know. I mean, they tried out Chase Edmonds. Everyone on that roster has gotten a shot, and they were like, nope. So
I just think we have. Like also last year, we can say running backs are getting devalued more and more, and I think that's generally true. Last year, we still had 2 running backs go in the top 12 of the NFL draft, and Gibbs and Bijan Robinson.
The Lions would like a word.
Yeah, and then one of them didn't start, and then one of those running backs who went in the top 12 didn't start for his team.
Yeah, I know. It's just anytime we say like, the first round real life running back is dead, teams prove us wrong like every year. So I'm just a little hesitant to say that the draft capital is like completely.
No, it was a bad running back class. It was definitely a bad running back class. I think Jonathan Brooks was a good running back prospect. If he doesn't tear his ACL, he went pretty early in the 2nd round with the torn ACL. So,
but then even him, it's like now he's the Panthers running back. And
right?
Damn it! Like, and then like Trey Benson could have been sick. Well, he at least had like some level of competition with James Conner, and
3rd round. I don't love him falling to the 3rd.
Yeah.
No, I think Trey Benson. I think Trey Benson is going to be the answer to how did we let this happen in the end? Like James Conner is 29 years old. The whole team just got younger. They're like, it's going to be much less the horizontal raid. I think we have a very bad picture of what the Cardinals offense looks like because the last 2 years have been Josh Dobbs and then like Cliff like not even bothering to show up for work.
How crazy is it that in 2021 we were taking James Conner behind Chase Edmonds?
Yeah.
We couldn't muster
and he's still there.
And he's still there.
He was number 1 in yards after contact per carry last year.
He was so good last year.
Number 1.
He was so good.
Not even good. He was the best in the stat that we all care about. Yeah, it's crazy.
I guess we were out because of injury proneness, right? Another injury prone loss for us. Yeah.
I wanted to talk here, so we'll get into a bunch of specific players that we've talked about. I wanted to start the risers and fallers conversation by just highlighting. So this is the top 11 fallers I think I have, or sorry, top 11 risers I think I have on here. 8 of the top 11 are rookies. So my question, I'll start with you on this, Crane. Is this justified? Like, were the initial ranks just so bad? Or are we just getting? Are we just getting bored? Like, are we just bored?
People are so bored, Sam. People are so fucking bored. Ladd McConkey is a 5th round pick now on a half-point PPR site. Yes, we're bored, dude. We are bored.
I think it's maybe a little more justified than Davis does. Like we had to get some of these guys up substantially, and it doesn't happen overnight. So there's still like some cost, adjustments happening. Let me see where we have Ladd. I think this is fine for Ladd. He's in the 6th round. That seems fine to me.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We're now behind a little bit on Keon Coleman, but just barely. Ben Sinnott seems like a little out of control.
That's boredom. That's the boredom one.
Let's get real. That's ridiculous.
That one definitely seems a little wild.
20 months ago, this guy was listed as a fullback on the K-State football program.
He won the Low Man Award. He was the best fullback in the country.
Now that being said, if you take Jaden Daniels, you're tapping that button on.
The
R squared on taking Daniels, then taking Sinnett and Luke McCaffrey has to be like 7.
Well,
like it's very high.
You have to consider the correlation. Like Sinnott, the best fullback in the country, he's going to be blocking for these Jaden Daniels runs. Like, you need him out there.
It's the B-Rob stacks.
Yeah. I do. I'm into that too, to be honest.
Yeah. So I did think this was interesting. This is from John Boy Beats. He did sort of a study about how rookie ADPs, particularly at wide receiver, seem to really spike in June, like early June, which is, I think, basically that's kind of where we are now, because people are so excited to draft right now. And these red X's, I did this kind of quickly, but if you look at the wide receivers, which are on the right of this chart, I put red X's on guys where you basically got the worst value on them in early June, and then there are buying opportunities later. Yeah. So
this is also when frequency of sex per best ball drafter is at a
correct
lowest
all-time low. Yeah. So I don't know, Hayden, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, we're kind of joking, but it's like right when the first puppy, it's just the same people throwing like 25, 30, 50 drafts in. And so like this
call's coming from inside the room.
Right. But like this consensus where like typically a consensus is like each person's opinion equals 1. Now after a puppy draft, it's by draft, not by user. So now all of a sudden the person that's drafting all these 0 running back teams, now you just watch the 0 running or the wide receiver prices go dramatically up right when we launch the puppies. Same thing. That's going to be the same cohort that's going to be drafting the rookies in general. So yeah, it makes sense. Like right after the puppy launches, this will probably be the peak of both wide receiver prices and rookie prices, and then they'll slightly tail off. But we're talking about like 5-6 points or draft spots, I think, in general here. So I don't think it's going to matter all that much.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to matter too much. I just think, I think the psychology of it is right when the contest opens, there are these crazy values. And Pete Overzet, obviously, he put out some videos highlighting awesome values right away. But then people have that mindset. And I think it lasts like a couple weeks too long where it's like, oh, I got to get in the draft and like get this rookie because he's never going to be, going this late. And then that mindset just keeps going to a point where it's no longer true.
People are literally logging on to do drafts to draft Ben Sinnett right now. They're like, I'm entering a draft to make sure that I come away with Jaden Daniels and Ben Sinnett and Luke McCaffrey here. And it's me.
He did a whole video where he's like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that stack. And that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Sinnott one feels like the most fragile to me of these. Like when
Tracy and Vidal are pretty fragile too, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean fragile in the sense that like when August drafters come in, they're going to be like, Ben, what now? Like, they're not.
Ben Sinnott is there's a chance that he ends up going like undrafted in August drafts for sure, like straight up.
Well, he is not going to be running with the first team. I can guarantee.
Early
in 21 personnel, he will be Hayden. Yeah, 21 personnel will be with the first team.
Exactly.
I mean, we might as well at this point call Zach
with Eckler and D-Rob. It's gonna be all three of them in the back.
The I formation. He's definitely on the fields.
How mad are the 11th round Ben Simmons drafters going to be when Zach Ertz is leading the Washington Commanders in targets through 3 weeks of the season?
Stop bag defending.
It's not a bag defend. No. For once in my life, I get to be the side of common sense in a rookie versus old. I've never in my life been on the common sense side.
No, you're bag defending Ertz, not
for the first time ever. I needed. The chat is asking. No, I'm not drafting Ertz right now. I've moved on to Dawson Knox as my.
Oh yeah, I take Knox. That's
as my coach in round 18. Yeah.
What are you saying? What, we can't take Josh Allen's guy who might catch a touchdown on the right week, dude?
Yeah,
that seems fine.
I guess
Colby Parkinson. That's right.
Yeah, live a little.
18th round, Colby Parkinson.
Yeah, that's
Will Dissly.
Dog.
Will Dissly.
Oh man,
dog.
I saw you wrote him up. So you think Parkinson? Because Parkinson's got late. Like Higbee will be back at the end of the season, right? So you think he's got to take that job?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
think Higbee's adios.
Yeah,
adios. Multi-ligament in January.
Yeah,
that's not great. He's never been good. Like he's been good for 3 weeks at a time. I don't know. Colby Parkinson's he's massive, and the underlying numbers aren't terrible.
Yeah.
Higbee,
before we lose all of our
they had Everett and Higbee, and they told Everett to hit the road, and they gave Higbee an extension. So I don't know. It makes me nervous.
Parkinson got a lot of money though. I think it was $15 million or something like that. I forgot the exact number.
Yeah, 15.5 guaranteed.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
At that point,
it's not even Josh Oliver money, dude.
Is it?
Josh Oliver's a good Ben Sonata.
That's not even that's just a good point.
That was a tremor through the universe right there.
Because Josh Oliver was kind of an interesting prospect.
He was. Yeah.
Irv Smith, it's the whole gang.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like Sonata, but it is getting a little wild.
We got to stop talking about H-backs. We're going to lose all of our
We're not.
Let's move on.
No one is not one.
Let's move on to Mike Evans. I thought this was an interesting ADP rise because it really bucks the rookie trend. He's in here moving up 2 spots. I think this is driven by ETR's aggressive.
You know what's driving this. Yeah, don't act like you don't know. You guys have him at 17. Come on.
Look, I'm not putting inputs in there at ETR. I'm not involved, so don't blame me. But yeah, this is
it's also structural too, because it's a natural pushback to I don't want to fucking draft Devin A-Chain. I don't want to draft Kyron. Maybe I don't like Devontae. Maybe I don't like Aiyuk. Maybe I don't like Deebo. It's just it's a ranking that people feel comfortable sliding into that. It just feels nice and cozy, like putting on a Snuggie. All right, I'll just take Mike Evans ahead of Devin A-Chain.
Yeah, 1,000 yards. I'll just grab the 1,000 yards. I know I'm getting
1,000 yards. Yeah,
sounds good.
I think too. I have a bit of a Mike Evans rant. I think touchdowns just matter way more in half PPR than people give it credit for. And I get they're unpredictable, but with Mike Evans, they're really not
for Mike
unpredictable.
Evans.
Yeah, 13 plus touchdowns in 3 of his 4 last NFL seasons. 12 plus touchdowns in 5 of his 10 NFL seasons. You compare that to guys going near him in ADP. Chris Olave in his 2 NFL seasons, 4 and 5 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle in his 3 NFL seasons, 6, 8, and 4 touchdowns.
Hey, hold on about Jalen Waddle.
Mike Evans is. I'm just saying he's 6'5". Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, these other guys going near him, they're 5'10", 5'11". You can say touchdowns are unpredictable, and I'm going to chase the younger guys with theoretical upside, but you can draft Mike Evans and just. I don't know. You can bank 12 plus touchdowns 50% of the time. That's crazy.
You can't. No, you can't. You can't bank 12 plus touchdowns. Come on.
I'm just saying literally his historical hit rates, 13 plus touchdowns, 75% of the time the last 4 seasons.
Yeah. Okay. But that's because you started it after he went 5, 8, and 8. So if you just zoom
Eight-
out
eight-
another
We got the
3 years,
would be
Baker quarterback upgrade over Tom.
Yeah, Baker QB upgrade. Come on.
I mean, so you're buying the
But
top
you
on
just
the
can't tell me
touchdowns.
that you can't
You're
tell me
buying
that
the
a
top on
guy
the
is.
touchdowns. He
You
had.
can't tell me
he
a
had-
guy who's 6'5" doesn't just like inherently score more touchdowns than a guy who's 5'11".
He had 6
Well, I
touchdowns
can.
2 years ago.
How tall is Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
This is turning into the dumbest debate ever.
Well, like, he had 6 touchdowns 2 years ago, and he went in the 7th round. Then he had 13 touchdowns, and now he's going in the 2nd round. Like, which is the thing that's affecting the ADP? Because I think we're chasing the touchdown. The touchdowns aren't like something no one's thought of. He just scored 13 touchdowns, and it boosted his ADP by 5 rounds.
Pat, I think
That's
it was on the
why
last
he's
show.
going here.
You said that no one's deserving of the 2nd round pick. And I think that's true. Every single person we put up there, we're going to say he shouldn't be there. Like they either haven't done it before or they're a regression candidate. They should come back down unless we want to treat Derrick Henry and those types as legit 2nd rounders. But we don't want to do that. So I think it's just like, okay, Brandon Aiyuk, Marvin Harrison's a 1st round pick.
Okay, but Brandon Aiyuk is actually the worst 2nd round pick, though. Can we be honest about this?
I like him.
Why? So you love Deebo and you don't like Aiyuk. Why?
No, he's actually fine. It's just all a brand thing now.
it's just a bit.
It's all a brand thing now. I like the thing is that I prefer
because you love Deebo.
I prefer Adams and Deebo like pretty significantly in this format to Aiyuk, so it just means I'll never take him because no other drafter drafts that way. And people are actually more likely to take Aiyuk ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. than take Adams ahead of Aiyuk. So it just means I won't get him, which is fine. I think the issue you have with Aiyuk is he will never have the highest single game ceiling on his team. McCaffrey and Deebo have much higher single game ceilings. So to me, that just feels like if the 49ers kind of goes according to plan, none of these guys get traded. No one misses any significant time with injury. Probably all of them will be pretty good advance rate guys because Purdy is pretty cheap and they're all pretty good and the offense is so concentrated. So you just show up to week 17 with like the 3rd highest ceiling projection of the guys. And not to say in any given game, he can't be the highest scoring player, but I still prefer Deebo by quite a bit.
Because he's got the contingent. Because you're saying basically if CMC were to go down, now we're probably more excited about Deebo.
If CMC goes down, like let's say CMC tears his knee tomorrow, where does Deebo immediately leapfrogs Aiyuk, I would assume, in ADP.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think Aiyuk is like absolutely ready to completely take off one of these years. And
well, maybe I'll need to readjust. I just like based on the evidence that I have when these guys are on the field together, Deebo gets the ball more and he scores more points. But what Deebo's about to is he turns 29 this year. So
and that's like a long 29 years old.
It's a long 29. So that's the other thing is Deebo could his black marble season could be this year. Mm-hmm, it could be week 4. Deebo kind of like rolls over on his ankle and it's over, right?
And there's also there's like I'll put like a 10, 15, 20% chance somewhere in there that Deebo gets traded before the season. And at that point, I would want Aiyuk and like the combination.
Deebo on a non-Shanahan team. I don't have any interest with Deebo on the Carolina Panthers. I'll say
he would go take the Malachi Corley job with the Jets, and he'll be in the 7th round.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
So I'm just looking at Brandon Aiyuk's game log. Has he ever had a 30-point game in PPR?
No.
Maybe in his rookie season. It is kind of crazy.
He has on DraftKings with the bonus, but he's never had it in PPR.
Yeah, because last year's ceiling is just so much better historically, if you believe that's predictive.
Right. And I mean, it makes sense.
You are the originator of that point. That sometimes you could just look at a guy's game logs and be like, "Well, he has like literally done this before."
Yeah, I don't know if you're the originator, but
I'm the originator. I'm the first guy to look at box scores.
I don't think he thought of that.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the flippening. This is the year. The Aiyuk flippening has been like this close to happen every single year, and I feel like this would make sense. And I mean, he's George Kittle falling off too. Like he's been in the mix, and like true. There's odds that either one of those guys are at the age cliff. Same thing with CMC, and then I like at that point, all of a sudden Aiyuk can take another leap, and like it's go time.
Isn't the someone who understands you though? Go ahead, Sam.
Go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say, as someone who understands contracts better than we do, is there any like contract related reason that Deebo isn't going to be traded until like after June 1st or something like that? Because I heard that floated, but I didn't really understand why that would be a
They're
thing.
shopping him on draft night.
Yeah, so on draft night it's gonna be hard because you have to pass a physical, and he wasn't like it's too hard to do that during the draft night. The reason why they would want to do it is because they would save $23 million next year. And that's how much over the cap they are, like exactly $23 million. So when they have to pay for Aiyuk and all these guys, Purdy, they're going to have to get rid of some contract. And the most obvious one would be Deebo Samuel. Now, the 49ers most likely are going to say, well, we want to try to win the Super Bowl this year, and we'll try to trade Deebo next year. But if they get the right offer,
there's been some good reporting on that from guys around the team, which is that Deebo is the chess piece. Deebo is the one that makes the defensive coordinators be like, well, shit, we don't really know what to do. And the chat's going to start doing the man versus zone thing, to which I will say I have literally no interest in, like literally less than zero interest in. But it totally makes sense. Like Aiyuk, you can just like, he'll win it as the flanker. He'll win as like, he's a great NFL wide receiver, but he is a less versatile, less like dynamic after the catch player than Deebo. You can structure an entire game plan around like 8 Deebo Samuel plays, to break out at any given time. So it would make sense why Shanahan would not want to trade him.
I saw it the other way though, because Aiyuk is the only one that wins downfield and against man coverage, and you can replace the Deebo stuff with more George Kittle, more CMC, more
Mecole Hardman.
Pearsall could do some of the
Ricky Pearsall had some interesting rushing stuff in college too. Yeah. So maybe that's their view on the long-term Deebo replacement potentially.
Yeah, if they can't throw the ball downfield, I feel like all the Mickey Mouse stuff becomes a lot less appealing. So I would guess that they feel really confident that they have to pay Aiyuk moving forward. He's different.
And I know, like Aiyuk did really well in reception perception in 2022, and then I assume he did well this past year. We don't have it yet, but he was wide receiver 8 in open score last year. So, like, I think the point about him being able to kind of, like, if I'm Shanahan, I'm like, this guy wins without me. That's cool. You do that, and then I'll figure out everybody else. But it is interesting that he hasn't, like, Aiyuk feels like he could handle so much more. Like they could just run the offense through it, but they don't tend to do that.
They don't really do that.
Yeah. I don't understand why not. But like the Tampa Bay game, he went nuts, 156 yards and a touchdown, but he only had 6 targets.
Yeah. I mean, this is like George Kittle. Kittle could have handled a Kelsey-esque role for years, and they just had really no interest in doing that.
Right.
I think my point is like he's already established he's a 4th round pick with a bunch of target competition without these huge spike weeks. And that if I have to draft him in the 2nd round this year and he turns out to be a 4th rounder, I think that's kind of how most of the 2nd rounders are going to be. But if all of a sudden there's less target competition, whether it's a trade or the other older guys get injured, now I have a chance where I can actually see him go up into like the 1st round, because like all the other numbers to me are right there.
He seems very, very capable of handling like a 30% target share. I kind of doubt it ever happens because of the offense he's in, but like you're buying low from a talent perspective. I agree with that.
Let's move on to a guy we were discussing pre-show. This is the Venn diagram of Hayden Winks and Davis Maddock takes. Isaiah Pacheco is right in the middle there. He's up 4 spots, 7% in ADP. Start with Ukraine, because I think I might be wrong. I think maybe you're a little bit lower on Pacheco than the market, or at least not super excited about him. What are your thoughts on this movement upwards for Pacheco?
Yeah, I'm not super excited about Pacheco, but I generally get it. I mean, he was good last year. He showed a ceiling in a single week. The Chiefs were more willing to lean on him than they usually are with the running back. There's no competition. Competition CEH, like that's just ideal. So I do understand it. Daniel Raz this morning actually was like, I think he's going to end up being in the top 40 pretty soon. So we moved him up a little bit. The other thing I would say about Pacheco is like, I never get him falling. Like I can get Mixon sometimes at crazy prices. It never happens with Pacheco. So I don't love Pacheco. He's not a priority for me, but I do think if you want to make sure you have some and you're just going to have him a little bit more top of mind, that feels prudent because I think he probably does continue to move up a little bit. So you're going to want to take him at or a little ahead of ADP if you're trying to get some exposure right now.
Hayden, I know you're prioritizing him. I think he was on your list of running backs to draft now.
Yeah.
Could you give a little more of like the ceiling bull case for Pacheco?
So from week 12 on through the playoffs, he averaged 17.6 half PPR points on 18 expected points, which both would have been the RB3 if you would extrapolate that the entire season. Now, obviously, a little bit of a smaller sample, but that was like 10 games with Pacheco. And that would make sense.
And that's when McKinnon was out.
Mostly, yeah, McKinnon was out. And then Pacheco, day 3 guy. And he's like had to earn the trust of the coaching staff. He had some fumble issues. He had some vision issues, and now he's getting better. And that would make more sense.
His legs were a little sore from stomping.
Yeah, exactly.
Stomping that
big
ground.
stomper. So yeah, I think that like the role and the points last year were really good. And I think that we look at like the regular season points, we don't factor in like the NFL playoffs. Like he was balling in the playoffs. And I think like that is when the team really cares about all that. So I think there's a little bit of a discount on like not looking at the playoff box scores. And then the other note with him is I was looking like who finishes like top 3 overall. It's like a version of the legendary upside and not even about the players, just like what teams they're on. And over like the last decade, the teams that finished or the running backs that finished either first, second, or third on the season, they played on a team that had a above 500 winning percentage 80% of the time. And 50% of those top 3 running backs played on a team that won 67% of their games, which is like top 5. So like there really is like a more or less short list of guys that can do that. I think Breece Hall could be a little bit of an exception this year. Maybe Bijan, who might not be that on that good of teams, but there's only so many teams that project for 11, 12 wins. And Pacheco is one of them, and he goes fairly late. Zach Moss would be another player that's running back that's ranked really low, but
that was a good one. Snuck that in there.
Could be.
I did also want to, so I don't know. I think Pacheco too, like, and Hayden, I've even heard you and Josh talk about this like in years past. You're not that excited about Isaiah Pacheco, like the talent at running back necessarily. You go into his advanced stuff last year, and I just put Taylor there as an example that of, a running back that everyone considers to be some elite talent. And I'm not saying Pacheco is better than Jonathan Taylor, but if you look at the stats from last year, he basically was. But I am saying that. But I actually am saying that.
You picked a bad year.
So I picked Taylor's worst year and Pacheco's best year, and he's be's better than him. But no, but he's top 10, better. top 15. And seriously, like the competition is literally a rugby player, CEH, and like LaMichael Pirine. Like, let's get real. There's not really like the risk of him. Yeah, the risk of him losing his workload isn't like in the true dead zone risk where like he could lose his job or be forced into like a 50-50 committee. It could be the same thing as last year where they find someone to take the McKinnon role and you just get Pacheco in that like 60% role again. Fine. That's not great. That's not a huge win there, but I do think there is some like workhorse-esque potential for Pacheco just because like seriously, who else are they going to play? Who else are they going to trust on pass downs for Patrick Mahomes? Like, there's nobody there.
One reason I'm having trouble getting Pacheco, and I think the market's just going to force my hand on this, and I'll end up when he moves up, I'll end up getting more of him. But I've been taking James Cook ahead of Pacheco, and that's one where you make the arguments about the offense powering these guys. I mean, I get the Bills offense. That seems pretty great. They threw to the running back way more at the end of the season. So I get that kind of boost to it. I also James Cook went nuts in a couple games late in the season. Against Dallas, he had 25 carries, 179 yards, a touchdown, 42 more receiving yards, and another touchdown on 2 receptions. The week before, he had 83 receiving yards and a touchdown, 58 yards on 10 carries. Didn't get the workhorse usage. But in week 16, he had another 20 carries, 70 yards. He closes with 16 carries, 13 carries, 18 carries, 18 carries. He now has Ray Davis, who's actually older than CEH. I just made that up, but
you really
no, you didn't even say that. I believe that.
You might be right.
I might actually be right.
We're flipping coins.
You're not looking at like a ton of competition now. You do have it. The obvious pushback is goal line stuff. Does Cook get used to the goal line? I don't know. Does Pacheco get used to the goal line? 100%, definitely. So that's pretty great. But like you have, to me, I'm like, this dude, I think Cook is better. Like I think Cook is a better running back. And what if he gets the goal line usage? I have to take a little bit of leap of faith with that. But I feel like if he does, like, good luck without him. Like he's going to smash.
Yeah, Crane, I've got some new advanced stat for you. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called touchdowns. James Cook has 2 rushing touchdowns each of the last 2 years. So you might want to.
Yeah, I mean it's an Eckler thing, right? It's like, do they give him?
It is.
Do they give him the work? Because like if they give him the work, and you
Ray
didn't
Davis,
take James Cook in the 5th round, like you're going to be hurting. You're going to
Ray
be
Davis dog levels, Crane. Dog per pound and dog per year. Ray Davis is a dog. I think he's going to be the goal line back for
and he ages in dog years.
Yeah. Well done.
James Cook 3 months older than Ray Davis. That to me, I mean you guys can correct me or say if you think I'm wrong. To me, I sort of felt like the team that takes Ray Davis totally understands what they're buying, which is about 26 months of a serviceable running back, and they plan to put him. I don't think there's any seasoning for Ray Davis. I think it was whichever team takes him, he's got to be ready to go right away. There's just no point in taking him and being like, learn the ropes behind. He's ready-made. He's ready-made.
You take the plastic off and you put Ray Davis in the lineup.
So the James Cook fall to me, I preferred Pacheco over him anyway. So I just because you're on the clock and they're both there a good bit of the time. So I wasn't taking him to begin with. And now with Ray Davis being, I think, legit competition for the most important touches. I mean, touchdowns on underdog that's what's going to swing all the money. And how does James Cook get those touchdowns?
They give him opportunity.
But to make Sam's point, Josh Allen is literally bigger than Mike Evans. So when they get down to the goal line, you know who's the actual goal line back here.
Well, true. Right. So now he's got lots of pressure.
Yeah. It's over.
Also, like the Eckler thing, I do think is a little bit different because he had a legitimate blocker in Melvin Gordon for most of his career, who was a good running back, I think. With James Cook, they're trotting out 35 Latavius Murray. They're trotting out Ty Johnson. Like, they're just not showing any faith in it. So I do agree with you, Crane. Like, we did see it with Eckler, and maybe there's, 10, 20% chance Cook gets this goal line roll. If he does, that's awesome. He's a smash. But I just think it's like a big if that they're going to give him.
Here, I've got to, I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about Pacheco, but let's do a blind resume here for Pacheco and another formerly fantasy great Chiefs running back. This was the Chiefs running back in 2018. 11 games, 181 rushing attempts, 800 yards, 7 touchdowns with 26 receptions. Weirdly, 7 receiving touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco in 14 games last season, 205 rushes, 935 yards, 7 touchdowns, 44 receptions, only 2 touchdowns. So basically the same stat line with the touchdowns swapped. That 2018 Chiefs running back was Kareem Hunt, who was a first-round pick. And now the market is saying, no, thank you, Isaiah Pacheco.
I was waiting for like Darrell Williams or
the
other
Kareem.
I was waiting for like Niall Davis or something. Yeah.
Well, Kareem, it would have been more games, but then Kareem Hunt got cut from the team and then by the way, Darrell Williams just continued to do the exact same thing with no disruption, like literally no disruption to what the Chiefs were doing in any way. So
one thing I'll just note on James Cook, in terms of the kind of his ability at the goal line stuff, I wrote about this last year with success rate actually having a little bit of correlation to goal line opportunity the following year. You could potentially look at James Cook and be like, oh, he's basically like a DeAndre Swift, kind of like inconsistent, explosive.
Better than that. He's better than that.
He's better than that. He had a 43% success rate last year, which was just behind James Conner and Deontay Foreman, ahead of Kyron Williams.
He was like top 10 in the NFL in success rate, right?
Yeah, it was Achane, White, McCaffrey, Hubbard, Montgomery, Connor, Foreman, James Cook, then Kyron, then Najee, then Khalil Herbert, then Zach Moss. And then Zeke, actually. So it's like these dudes are like guys who hit the right hole pretty well. Yeah. If Cook's doing that, I think he's got a shot to get some of that work over a rookie day 3 guy. Like, I don't think it's as big an if as you're painting it as. And I think Hayden's point about Josh Allen being there is more concerning. And you probably need to, I mean, everyone else has already been doing this, but you probably, Pat, need to start taking Pacheco ahead of Cook, because I think that makes sense. You want to have access to some of these guys. But if Cook's going to fall to the 5th, like, I really think that's a pretty big opportunity to get an explosive, versatile running back on an elite offense.
Just looking, Josh Allen was 7th in inside the 5-yard line carries last year. So that I think that's like probably the one thing that Austin Eckler didn't have to worry about is his quarterback getting involved down there. But James Cook, I think, is still a fantastic pick. Like, he doesn't have to score the touchdowns to be worth that price tag. Like,
yeah. And I agree with Ukraine. He's just like a great player. I think he's shown that in 2 years. So if you just want to bet on the talent, and sometimes the situation, the role can kind of fall into place. So I think that's a good point. Let's move on to talking about Sam LaPorta. We kind of teased the elite tight end.
I might as well be fucking invisible when I'm drafting.
Early on.
Like, what are we what's the point? Literally, what is the point?
I don't get it at all. He didn't separate at all. He was like on a technicality, the tight end one last year.
Like, literally a technicality.
But I don't know, man. You're paying such a big
to the
price.
judges.
Yeah. I think it literally was like him at 11.1 half PPR points per game, and then like 10 guys from like 10 to 11.1, or, I'm exaggerating, but it's something like that. I don't know. Crane, I think you're probably most interested in taking him, so I'll give it to you. What could we all be missing? What's the reason why LaPorta is a good pick here, if you were to paint that case?
He's not that great of a pick. He's the number 2 option on. Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's a horrendous pick, because you're getting
just like whatever.
Yeah, you're getting a guy who was all right. Here's the bull case. You're getting a dude who was just the tight end 1 on a technicality, but the tight end 1 as a rookie. When we just heard, rookie tight ends can't produce, he comes in and immediately is the tight end 1 in fantasy, and now you're getting him in the 3rd round. That seems pretty good. The problem is that all the other tight ends are going behind him, and I think probably have stronger cases to be the tight end 1 this year. So I don't want to break the seal. Like, I like the elite tight ends a lot this year, but in part it's because like I'm getting them after Sam LaPorta, the number 2 on the Lions. I can get the number 1 on the Chiefs still in Travis Kelce. I can get potentially the number 1 on the Ravens. I can get if I want a number 2, why don't I take Trey McBride in the 4th or 5th? Dalton Kincaid might be the number 1 on the Bills. Probably not, but like at the worst case, I'm getting the number 2 on the Bills, and you have the number 2 on the Lions. So I like LaPorta. I think he's very talented, but it does feel a little expensive compared to the rest of the position.
Okay. Do you guys know how many just raw half PPR points Sam LaPorta scored to be the tight end 1 last year? Just like, don't look, just guess, just say a number.
Like per game or
total cumulative?
160.
I'm going to 192.
I'll go 180.
196.3.
Wow,
I mean,
Hayden's got half PPR.
That is
brain.
like, so to put that in context, that was like as many points as Jerome Ford scored last year.
The projections don't make sense.
It's
just
immaterial. What it is he could finish tight end 1. He could duplicate last year's performance and just be completely immaterial. It just won't matter.
And the other thing is he scored 10 touchdowns. Yeah. His like expected points. Obviously, he's good. The Lions are good. All that. He scored 4 more points than like his usage would indicate. Number 1 in over expected touchdowns at tight end, and he did that. He barely squeaked by as the tight end 1. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was Gretsch said like we gotta draft like boomers a little bit more this year and like sit there, look at the projections, and then kind of figure out how we should be drafting. And I think that Sam LaPorta is gonna be one of the guys when once everyone's posted their projections is like, wait a minute, why is he a 3rd rounder?
Dude, that's a great call. Actually, it's probably the worst time to draft Sam LaPorta, where like these aren't as projection driven as they're going to be, and like Kelsey's going to flip LaPorta once projections are driving this stuff more, right?
He should. I mean, unless you're completely ignoring the playoff run last year and saying it didn't happen, Kelsey's ceiling versus LaPorta, not even in the same universe.
The team thought Kelsey might be done. They thought they thought he literally ended his season in practice before the Lions game. Do people remember that? Like, he played with this crazy ankle injury all year. There's like a very real reason why he had a bad year.
I don't think people remember that, actually.
I don't think they do. He didn't play week 1.
And people don't count the playoff stats, which is always so dumb. Yeah. I don't get that. But look at Kelsey in the playoffs. Like, he was
not even just look at Kelsey in the playoffs, but do look at Kelsey in the playoffs. But like the team that just won the Super Bowl was like, how do we get here? And the answer was Travis Kelsey. Like, this dude is not done.
Yeah. We have season long projections and pick 'em on our dog, and I was looking at Kelsey's. There's wide receivers who are going ahead of him, like Zay Flowers, who have lower straight up season long projections than Kelsey does as the tight end. Like, I don't know. It just seems bad. Like, he's still projected for over 1,000 yards, and there's wide receivers projected from the 800s.
Careful, Hayden. Are you recommending an elite tight end?
I don't mind Kelsey in the 4th, 5th round. Same thing with Mark Andrews.
5th? Come on.
Right now, he's in the 4th round.
In the 5th round, we're taking Jaden Reed ahead of him. Like, what?
Exactly. I don't want Jaden Reed either. Give me Mark Andrews.
Back to the point of like of the point of drafting like a boomer this year. Like, with tight ends, like, I'm drafting the guys where I've seen them be elite for years. Like, give me Mark Andrews, give me Kelsey, give me George Kittle. I'm okay with Trey McBride too, but like, man, Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, Sam LaPorta versus the guys we've just seen do it over and over and over again. Like, for me, that's how I'm approaching it. Maybe it's drafting like a boomer. I don't know, but I just see so many paths of Andrews and Kelsey being the elite top passing option on their own teams compared to those other guys. So,
yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think tight end is the position where drafting like a boomer has generally been like the correct way to go. Like, the tight end breakouts often burn us in a pretty big way. I just said I kind of like Kincaid, but I mean, Kincaid might suck. He had kind of normal tight end efficiency. He might suck as far as the number one wide receiver on a team with tight end eligibility. I mean, by that standards, he had kind of normalish tight end efficiency last year. He's going to be asked to step up into a bigger role. I think it gives him a really high ceiling, but he might not be that good, you know? And we've obviously chased Kyle Pitts for years and years. No one's ever interested in George Kittle, and then he puts up a few big spike weeks every year.
Can't wait to see how Pitts doesn't get there this year. I mean, it's just like, it's going to be incredible. Like,
definitely
like won't. Is Pitts going to get hurt? Is it going to be 1,100 yards with no touchdowns? Is it going to be Rondale Moore finally becoming everything we've been? Will it be like they trade for a wide receiver, 140 Darnell Mooney target? Like, it's just, it's Final Destination style, like whatever needs to happen for him to not get there, but it is also clearly lining up for him that I can't wait. This is why we play the game. It's why we play the game. How will we get rugged on Kyle Pitts this year? It's amazing.
A guy I hope we don't get rugged on is Jonathan Brooks, because I've been drafting a ton of him. He's up 5 spots to pick 92. Hayden, where are you at on Brooks at this price?
Yeah, I think this is another good pick here. I draft him as like my running back 4, sometimes a running back 3. I think that he's going to be a little bit capped because the Panthers are so awful, but I think like he has like pretty good odds of beating this ADP by like a couple rounds. I think like by the end of the season, he'll probably be like running back 18 in rankings or something like that, which is rock solid. And if he's really, really good, you have the chance of him completely breaking out. At least the Panthers addressed their offensive line this offseason. But without the ACL, I thought Brooks was very clearly the best running back in the class.
Me too.
Very clearly. And like in ways that like translate very obviously to fantasy points, like size and catching passes. So and I think the ACL stuff happened early in the year. It's like a clean tear, if you will, that I think he'll be out there in the mix starting from week 1. But it's just the Panthers like don't have a lot of faith over there.
I think they have a lot of faith in running the ball, though. Canales won't stop talking about how he wants to run the ball, drafts a running back in the second rounds. I think if you're coming into that situation, you're like, how am I going to show progress? It's run the ball a lot. You got to run the ball, use Bryce Young on play action stuff, but you can't I don't think you want to feature Bryce Young right now.
Right. But I think that goes to the point where it's like he's got good odds of beating this ADP because he's going to get a bunch of carries and stuff. But if the offense is so run first, then you're like, okay, there goes the ceiling. Like they're just trying to win 6 games and trying to put up 20 points each week with a run heavy offense. We're like, okay, now there's less of a ceiling because they're trying to run the ball so often. So
yeah,
I think he's fine. Like I think he's like, he makes sense in some builds, like depending on who the running backs you have around him. And at least for like this archetype on a bad team, he's at least is a rookie. So there's like anything could happen with him.
Yeah. And I do think like the Canales factor too, it obviously goes into how much you weigh coaching in projecting performance, but it's been 2 straight years where Dave Canales has been on a coaching staff where going into the season, you're like, this is the worst quarterback in the NFL. They're going to be a disaster. And he's made them like league average, maybe even top 12 options. You know, it was Geno Smith in 2022 when he was the quarterbacks coach, I believe, in Seattle. It was Baker last year. No one was touching Baker. Everyone thought that was going to be a disaster. You know, he led the Bucs to having tons of players that had really high fantasy relevance last year. So I don't know. Like, I guess with Bryce Young, I'm seeing the upside maybe a little bit more than
fair.
you guys are. Like we've seen this with top quarterbacks where they've looked so bad their rookie year. Trevor Lawrence is maybe one example. You know, Justin Fields obviously never became good, but got much better than he was as a rookie. So I can see Carolina being, you know, the 20th best offense in the league, something like that. And maybe that's enough for Brooks to have some upside. Even
most improved player of the year for Bryce Young if they get to 20th on offense.
Yeah,
I think.
sure. But I mean, to your point, Sam, like Baker Mayfield was worse in this Panthers offense, you know, 2 years ago, and then he gets Canales and he takes a big step forward. So yeah, I mean, maybe I'm underselling kind of what Canales can do a little bit, just in terms of making this Panthers offense not terrible. And then also maybe they throw to Brooks. You know, they just threw to Rachaad White a lot. Brooks isn't the receiving prospect that White was, but he's pretty versatile. I think he can get used a fair amount in the receiving game. Brooks is kind of like, maybe it's like sort of like what we like wanted DeAndre Swift to be, is his upside, is the kind of the way I see it. But I do wonder, all that said, is this the wrong time to be drafting a bunch of Brooks? Because I thought after the draft, yes, he was drafted in the second round, but the Panthers stink. Like, I thought that might drop him a little bit. He's been a riser, but so many of these rookies have been a riser. When August drafters come in, are they going to go, this is cheap for a running back?
No,
or are they going to go,
no,
Panthers gross, no thanks? You think he goes up?
Brooks goes up. You know who comes down? Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren will come down for sure. Jalen Warren will come down. Chase Brown will get a screen.
The problem with waiting to draft Jalen Warren is that he's going to break the season. So you still want some now.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not the AFC North running back that's going to break the season, but the issue is Chase Brown is going to catch a screen pass in the preseason. Gallop 47 yards untouched.
He might be Amir Abdullah. Yeah,
exactly. No, literally, we watched the Amir Abdullah clip on the show last week.
Yeah, it was good. It was
so. Good. Well, here's the thing about Brooks. If we want to do truly the ADP chasing, he's going to start training camp on the pup. We know he's going to start on the pup, and his price is going to fall that day at the very least. It means nothing. I'm not saying we need to draft it, but he's going to start training camp on the pup and be like, pup. Oh no! Yeah. And then you're going to get him in the hundreds for at least a day.
I'm almost wondering though that that's the assumption, and that if we get a little bit of good news on him, like what if he doesn't start on the pup list? I mean,
it won't matter.
What's preventing
that won't matter?
Like the 7th round.
That won't matter. But the pup list will move him down.
You think so? I feel like everyone's assuming that he's like going to be.
Every time I think this, like trying to predict ADP though, like every time I think something's baked in, it never is. Like,
it's never baked in.
Kirk Cousins might go to the Falcons. That seems like at least a 50% chance.
Justin Fields might get traded for a conditional 4th round pick. Goes from quarterback 8 to quarterback 25. It's never baked in.
Yeah, Drake London jumped from the 4th to the early 2nd on the. None of it was baked in. Just not like a 0%. It was crazy to me. So anyway,
I think it'll move either. It'll move either way. And just on the injury timeline stuff, I think Brooks had his surgery December 5th. So a 9-month timeline, exactly 9 months. That would mean return to action September 5th. That's like week 1. I think it could go either way, whether he's like on the training camp pup or not. I don't know. The news is been generally positive around that. So we'll see. Let's move on.
I don't think he starts the season on pup. So any like pup stuff we
we
attack that. We attack it. But
especially Hayden, close your ears for a second, especially on DraftKings, where he's gonna get that Q tag. Oh boy, he's gonna drop.
He's gonna drop a bunch on DraftKings.
Yeah. I think Davis is gone for his TV.
No, he's gonna come back and then
not yet.
He's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah,
he's got to put on his.
Now, can we get the Q tag on underdog? Why can we not? Or even better,
can we get misinformation on your site, please?
Can we get Rashee Rice? Can we display it with a red O, or maybe just put Rashee Rice's name in red?
No, like a jail. What about like a jail cell around it?
Can we do this emoji?
Emoji tags would be glorious.
Can we please? How can I use my platform to get Rashee Rice to be like a round 12 pick so that it doesn't even matter to my bottom line if he doesn't play this year?
All you just need is to drop him to 180 in his rankings and then see what happens.
No, sadly, I mean, I think Correa has sway, but he doesn't have Leone sway. What we need is I need
get him
Leone
on the pod. Yeah,
I don't.
Tweet on
we
things.
need Leone to nuke him from orbit. We need him to rank him behind Jonathan Mingo. I think that's what
wow, Davis. If after the season I sat you down and was like, hey, listen, Rashee Rice is going to have an ADP after Jonathan Mingo. I would have loved to. What's he going to do?
Well, I did not. I guess maybe I wiped that we can do Rashee corner before I leave. I did not remember that this scouting the character stuff. I don't remember that at all because people would have loved to have made the Chiefs jokes, right? Because the Chiefs they only draft assholes apparently. I really don't remember any of this. Yeah, I
don't think these were. Yeah, so I'll get to what Davis is talking about. I don't think you're wrong for not remembering it because I don't think these were public. But this is from an Athletic article. There was an alleged shooting incident over a girl that this basketball player at SMU and Rashee Rice were both allegedly seeing. I don't know. It's all alleged. I always feel a little bit dirty about sharing these things because like there was no criminal report. There was nothing. I do think though, like back to the overall Rashee Rice situation. I can't stress this enough. I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand how these things work. Drew Davenport, though, who does a lot of good work in sort of analyzing the legal stuff from a fantasy perspective, he said that prior criminal history is really important in these cases. Now, I'm not too worried about this pre-draft incident, but the fact that now he has this like new assault incident, like while he's being charged with felony aggravated assault for the driving thing, like with the prosecutors be able to weigh this like new charge. Like, I don't know. It just seems like really bad if sort of your prior history is a factor in these type of legal things. And then you go out and allegedly punch some photographer at a nightclub. Like that seems like that could be factored in to how they view this original incident. So
but the nightclub owner said Rashee wasn't drunk. It wasn't like a brawling situation. Like maybe this was just like a business deal gone.
No, he was.
Love to trust nightclub owners
of the lit kitchen. I mean,
the account was that he showed him Instagram messages on his own phone. This is all hearsay. I don't know, but what people are saying is that he showed, and then he hit him with the accusation that he was messaging his girlfriend. That's what the accusation was. That he basically was like, "Come back here," and then he's like, "I'm showing him the messages, allegedly," and then that's where the incident occurred. So it wasn't, and the fact that he wasn't drinking is potentially a red flag.
No, I think that's got to be
you're dead sober and you do that.
That's got to be mitigating. That has to be mitigating.
I don't know. It's not. That's you sober. That doesn't seem great to me.
Can we just 6 games? NFL 6 games. Let 6 games.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I want to point out that came out today. This was also from The Athletic. I didn't see many people talking about this. this was another big thing that Drew was talking about, like how bad the injuries really matter for this felony aggravated assault charge. It has to be serious bodily injury. Here's the description of the injuries from The Athletic. The injuries include, quote, trauma to the brain, lacerations to the face requiring stitches, multiple contusions about the body, disfigurement, internal bleeding, and other internal and external injuries, ... Like, that sounds potentially a lot like serious bodily injury to me. So there was some stuff individually that's like, oh, it's just like these guys got scratches. It's not a big deal. I don't know. According to The Athletic, there were some really serious injuries in this car crash. So again, that seems really bad. And I have generally been on like the Rice is okay at a discount thing, but I do think we are doing some coping in like just any piece of bad news. We're like, oh yeah, another great Rashee Rice buying opportunity. Like at some point we got to look at these things. Like
the call is coming from
inside
my house. The call, I can't. It's like, what do I do when the round is 8 and it's Christian Watson or Rashee Rice? I mean, what am I supposed to do?
This sounds
Really?
like a poem. The round is 8.
It's a haiku.
What am I really supposed to just be like, I don't know, I guess I'll just be scared. I don't know.
Here's what I wanted to say about Rashee Rice. What
Please.
if a lot of his production was because there was not another wide receiver on the field that was able to do anything?
We all agree this is the case.
That his numbers are not
nearly
nearly as good. Yeah, like
they're fake.
They're fake numbers, and now he has like legit target competition. So even if he's not,
but what if it's not legit target competition?
I think it is though.
I do too. But what if it's not?
Yeah, I mean, problem with that argument, Hayden,
a couple times. Yeah,
he had a pretty low first read target rate. So to the extent that it was fake after someone else didn't get open for them. So and maybe
and that's I think it's an issue.
Yeah, I think it's potentially an issue, but normally under normal circumstances, we would expect the Chiefs to call a lot more plays with Rashee Rice as the first read in his second season after the rookie season that he just had. The issue, does that not happen now because he's not really part of the plan? So I agree with you. I think it creates a much lower floor than you would typically see for a player with his rookie season. But I mean, I also think the fact that he was able to earn on that volume without a lot of first read looks is extremely bullish in terms of like his ability to show chemistry with Mahomes.
I just think like Mahomes is going to get his regardless, and there was literally nobody to throw the ball to. So like somebody was going to look good. Now I think like Rashee Rice is a decent player, but I mean the way that he was used really close to the line of scrimmage, like anything beyond that is a mystery. And I think that Xavier Worthy
that's still really Andy Reid still wants to have all of that. That's not going out of the Andy Reid offense, even if Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown are amazing. They're this close to the line of scrimmage stuff is not going anywhere.
But like I think to like be like a very legit wide receiver, you're going to need to do more than what Rashee Rice was doing. Now that we have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and I view Xavier Worthy just as a straight up way better player.
Oh, Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy is my new replacement for favorite click on the board. Now that I'm pretty sure Rashee Rice is getting suspended 6 games.
Yeah, maybe he's a better player, but like the fact that Rashee Rice went out there and was like open a bunch of times when no one else was is huge. It's hard to overstate how important that is compared to a guy who's got like some serious flags in his profile in Xavier Worthy. Like this dude was really inefficient on deep targets. I know a bunch of those were inaccurate. I know he had a broken hand his second year, but like, he was really productive as a freshman. Most of his best stuff is really kind of on more gadgety things. He's like 108 pounds. Like there's ways that this doesn't work out. And we look back and we're like, oh yeah, you ran the fastest 40 ever because you are like too small to actually play outside receiver in the NFL. So I don't know. I mean, like as a prospect, it's not close. It's Xavier Worthy like by a bunch, but Rice is right. I'm just more impressed by Rice's rookie season, I think.
Yeah. I think my fear is I think you can pretty much lock in a 6-game suspension at the minimum now. And that's what, I don't know. That's kind of what people are saying. And I think it makes sense given what's happened this offseason. You say,
Sam, can I ask you a few guys, whether or not who you're taking here?
Yeah.
Do this for the next 13 and a half minutes.
Because we're getting to the point where now we're talking about JSN or Rashee Rice.
Come on. I'd probably take JSN, to be honest.
I'm taking JSN.
You're taking JSN.
Yeah.
Okay. We're looking at Christian Watson or Rashee Rice.
I want Watson.
Give me Watson.
Deontay Johnson or Rashee Rice.
Oh, geez.
Probably Rashee there.
Yeah. Deontay scares me.
Okay. Yeah, that feels fair to me. I'm kind of shocked that you were willing to say JSN, Sam.
I've been a little JSN pilled recently.
What?
Dude,
Please elaborate.
That offense is going to finish, I'm going to say top 3 in air yards and top 5 in pass attempts this year. That's going to be my prediction. Seahawks are going to do a complete 180 here.
So I want to go back to JSN last year. Like it turned into a bit of me hating JSN so much, but all I was saying last year is that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are good. And this guy broke his wrist like a week ago. Like maybe we shouldn't be taking him in the 5th round. Like I wasn't prognosticating like JSN is some massive bust as a player. I'm just like, price doesn't make sense to me. I'm out. Now year 2, we do finally get the discount at pick 85 or whatever. I'm willing to give JSN a second chance at that price. He's definitely not someone I'm going to be like targeting, but I think, yeah, with pose the question, him versus Rashee Rice, I think I'd take JSN.
What about like the running backs in that range, like Zamir White, Ramondre Stevenson? You're taking those dudes ahead?
I don't know. I feel like at that point it's just so structure dependent. It's hard to say.
Yeah, but
in a vacuum,
yeah.
In a vacuum, probably yes. Like Ramondre, yes. Yeah.
I kind of like that tier of receivers. You get all those rookies in there. JSN 2nd year breakout. Then like Cortland Sutton still the number 1 on his team.
Okay, so you're in on Sutton. No one's in on Sutton. I can't get any bites on Sutton as a good pick. I think he's a good pick.
I think it's a good pick.
Sutton's a guy that you can take, but you shouldn't be openly touting him. I mean, that's just...
I mean, yeah,
Sam,
those are the best
he's
picks.
too gross for Sam. We know it's gross.
Those are the best picks.
Yeah. Speaking of guys that
you openly touted Austin Hooper. We can't tout Cortland.
Speaking of guys you get openly shamed for touting, Josh Jacobs has fallen 6 picks, pick 37. We've done a little bit of Josh Jacobs on the show already, so we'll keep it quick. But Hayden, I know you're
promises
on
that we keep this quick. Actually,
Hayden, why is Josh Jacobs a good pick here?
So I think the Packers are just going to be really good this year, just the way that they closed last year. And I get Marshawn Lloyd's like a fun pick too. I draft some Marshawn Lloyd, but I think there's some schematic reasons why they want Josh Jacobs. Like if you look at what the Shanahan tree is doing, McVay included, like they're changing from like zone-based offenses to like power gap-based offenses. And that's what Josh Jacobs is good at. And we just saw this with Kyron Williams. We've seen this with Christian McCaffrey. And I think there's like some reasons why they chose Josh Jacobs over Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones like historically has been in a committee, but LaFleur wants to get the running backs really involved. And Josh Jacobs just way bigger than Aaron Jones. So I think there's a chance that he absorbs more of the kind of share of that backfield. And yeah, now he's in the 4th round. So even though I rank him higher, I still only draft him right next to ADP. So yeah, I'm totally fine with him dropping. I just think that the Packers, they drafted a 1st round lineman. The team is projected for a bunch of wins this year. They were one of the best offenses from like week 12 on last year. I think LaFleur is a fantastic coach. And I think that the way that they're trying to move the offense, like in general, makes sense why they signed Josh Jacobs to a big contract. And the other thing, I've seen Josh Jacobs be a top 5-ish overall fantasy asset, like just 2 years ago. So it's not like this is completely absurd here. Like last year was really bad, which we should factor in definitely, but he was just as good the year before. Fantasy points above replacement was like at plus 20%. Last year was like negative 15%. So we just need him to kind of get to that baseline level. And then the Aaron Jones workload is like plenty enough for Josh Jacobs to be a top 10 running back this year.
That makes sense. And I wanted to show this quickly, and then I'll let you chime in, Crane. In terms of like getting to his career baseline, Ryan Heath of Fantasy Points pulled this together. He basically compared PPR scoring versus sort of a player's opportunities and looked at last year's differential. That's that diff column versus the career differential. Josh Jacobs was obviously terrible last year, but his career differential is much closer to a guy who just kind of gets what the opportunities are that's laid out for him. And I'm willing to say that, like, man, he's been on pretty bad teams his whole career. A lot of running back efficiency stats, I think, do come down to teams, not the player. So I definitely see the case there. I am also a bit worried about the Marshawn Lynch stuff, but yeah, curious where your thoughts are, Crane, on whether Jacobs can, beat this price at pick 37 or pick 30. Yeah, pick 37. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely can beat the price at pick 37. I don't think he's a bad pick, at the end of the third round. I think he's like totally fine there. I don't think he's a priority because he's coming off a very inefficient season. It's like kind of crazy how inefficient he actually was. He was like worse than AJ Dillon. You look at the rush yards over expected, the stats that I was referencing earlier in success rate with James Cook. He had a success rate of 35%. That was behind Tony Pollard, behind Jerome Ford, behind Kareem Hunt, Austin Eckler. He was pretty poor in rush yards over expected as well. Left 86 yards on the field there, only better than Kamara, Hunt, Jamal Williams, and Rashad White. Behind guys like AJ Dillon, Zeke Elliott, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard. I mean, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I think, like, if you're looking at a guy who I think is probably going to have like middling to okay efficiency, there's just a ton of those guys. You can get like David Montgomery, you can get Najee Harris. I think he does represent a pretty big premium on the Packers bet, which could certainly pay off. But I just have a hard time thinking about him as like, one of the keys to the season, in part because LaFleur has not talked about him as like a workhorse. Like Coach Speak Index has a quote, "You guys know how I feel philosophically. I think you have to have multiple backs in this league. I don't see it really changing much in terms of how we want to use our backs." And then the Coach Speak Index takeaway is that he thinks he's basically going to be in the Aaron Jones role. Aaron Jones is an explosive runner and an awesome receiver. Josh Jacobs, even at his best, I don't think was as good as Aaron Jones was at his best. So just like I'm getting like a less exciting player in the same role as Aaron Jones. Again, in the third, fourth round, I don't hate it at all. I mean, you can kind of like lock up the touches. It's like pretty well priced, but that's where I'd push back on the idea that like somehow this is a misprice.
The other thing though is everyone's assuming now that he is either average or below average in efficiency. 2 years ago, he was pretty.
Yeah, he was awesome 2 years.
Yeah,
he was
ago.
awesome 2 years ago.
And like looking at, like I posted on Twitter, David Montgomery before and after, when you're on the Bears versus the Lions, like the efficiency just goes immediately way up. So like there is a chance that the efficiency just gets way better with Josh Jacobs. And I saw somebody was asking about percentage of carries in a stacked box, and I just looked at him real quick. Josh Jacobs had 83 carries into 8 or 9 defenders in the box, that's an absurd amount. And on them, he only averaged 1.9 yards per attempt. So the Raiders were just like not giving this up. Like, we're going to run it right into 8 or 9 or 10 defenders in the box, and we're just going to keep doing it, even though it's not working. So I think there could be some reasons where, like, all right, Matt LaFleur is not going to do that. Maybe the other Raiders OCs that keep getting fired, they would do that. But maybe
Luke Getsy's down. Luke Getsy's going to try it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Zamir White, this thing could flip where.
Yeah, this could be Josh. This could be Josh McDaniels' stat from last year. This could have been like once McDaniels got fired, maybe the new OC did a little bit of a better job with Zamir White than Josh Jacobs. I do think it is like at least worrying. You compare this Zamir White to Josh Jacobs stuff head to head. Same team. I get different coaches over the period of times they were playing.
Jacobs got some of Antonio Pierce.
He got some. I mean. But yeah, I am kind of more in the ballpark that like these efficiency stats for running backs like fluctuate so wildly year to year that I don't look into them too much. And yeah, my other point was, Corinne, I get the Aaron Jones role point. I think the big difference from the Josh Jacobs versus the Aaron Jones role is it could be like similar in terms of a snap share split from Jacobs to Lloyd than Jones to Dillon, but it could be Jacobs with like 100% of the goal line work, whereas what was always frustrating with Aaron Jones, right, is AJ Dillon was taking 50-ish% of that, right? So again, on a team
and
in the
Marshawn
Packers,
Lloyd's more the Aaron Jones type of
that's
dude.
the big thing is Marshawn Lloyd is like low success rate, really high explosives. Like I think it would be a lot for Marshawn Lloyd to like be the number one by the end of the season. Just be like the style runner. Like there's a trust factor that most coaches haven't given.
So he's a little
Lloyd.
Ronald Jonesy, isn't he?
He's so Ronald Jonesy in the best ways and the worst ways. But I think like that type of profile is like, maybe we do the thing with like Jalen Warren. We're like, wow, on his 100 touches, he looked pretty damn good. Now we should get him more involved going forward. Not like,
and then he continues to look really good.
Yeah, and then he looks really good, and then we're ready to party. But I'm not sure if Marshawn Lloyd is like immediately earned trust.
Yeah. This is a point that everyone will hate, but like
probably not. I worry about his ability to earn trust.
Right,
and
I think
a Rojo
Jacobs
type
is
of way.
The opposite. Like even when Jacobs is not good, I mean, Antonio Pierce loved Josh Jacobs. Like Josh Jacobs is like the trust guy.
I've called him fancy Devin Singletary, which is obviously a little derogatory, but it's also like Devin. You know who earns trust? Devin Singletary.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Let's move on here to Drake Maye. Even though he completed 38 of 39 passes in practice today, he's still down 17 spots. I don't know how this is possible. Clearly, underdog drafters are not grinding the news like we are. Crane, are you still taking the Drake Maye?
I'm back in. I'm back in, baby. This new price. I mean, this dude is like he's like Justin Herbert with a more aggressive mindset. Like is he going to turn out to be as good as Herbert? No, he's going to be Blake Bortles, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun this year. Yeah, I'm excited about Drake Maye. Like at a big discount. I took him a ton in the big board. You're getting a little bit of that. What if the Vikings trade up? What if the Commanders take him? Obviously, that doesn't happen. Those shares are a little less fun, but I think he's the number 3 overall pick. They refused. The Vikings were begging them to come up and get him. They refused to trade down. Then they're going to bench him behind Jacoby Brissett for half a season. I doubt it. I think he's getting out on the field fairly quickly. And I still just maintain the biggest part of this. People just don't get how fantasy friendly this guy's skill set is. He's big. He's very willing as a scrambler. He runs around the goal line, and he throws deep. He throws deep willingly and pretty well. His big time throws on deep balls were very impressive. So I'm into the Drake Maye fantasy friendly skill set more than anything else. And then it also helps if you're running if you need a backdoor stack, nothing is easier. You get Jalen Polk, you get Antonio Gibson,
Baker,
Henry. You take Baker, Henry, Bourne. You can't even get boxed out. You can take KJ Osborne at the end if you get boxed out. It's like it's impossible. It's impossible. I'm just drafting all the Patriots.
What's a better backdoor stack if you're trying to win $1.5 million on underdog.com? Justin Fields and Roman Wilson or Drake Maye and Hunter Henry? Which side are you taking?
Drake Maye and Hunter Henry.
Yeah, come on.
I was doing this with Mac Jones last year. Hand up. I was Devontae Parker.
Well, no, I was trying to.
I wanted to see that AM too.
Yeah.
I was trying to craft a tweet this morning. I couldn't quite figure out the right words, but it was like year 4 of drafting a Patriots quarterback in round 17 and one of their loser pass catchers in round 18. But surely this will be the year it works.
It has to work this year.
It has to work this year.
Here's the thing that's I think not very known about my fantasy game is I'm a Patriots fan. I'm not that vocal about it. And my Patriots bias like seeps into my fantasy drafting, even though like I pretend it doesn't. Like every year I just like, wow, I just love this Mac Jones, Hunter Henry late round stack. It's so good. This year I'm like Ramondre in the 7th round, like might as well draft him every time.
But I don't really know how else you end up with 30% Devontae Parker other than being a Patriots fan.
No, it's so deep inside me that I like denied that the bias is there, but it just wins every year.
So are you drafting Maye? How much Maye you got?
Yeah. I'm not going to KJ Osborne, but I'll draft Maye. And
all right, maybe I went too far there.
I think you went too far there, but yeah, give me Douglas, Baker.
Douglas, yeah, Polk. Douglas. God, there's so many.
Oh well, okay. Well, while we have noted Chargers fan Hayden Winks on the program, can I just what's your personal opinion on what Harbaugh's plan for Quentin Johnston is?
Oh, Quentin.
Punt gunner.
Well, guys, they changed the kick return rule. You know that, right?
Well, if I'll tell you this, if DJ Chark is starting at a single snap over Quentin Johnson, it is so over forever.
Oh, it's DJ Chark is like the Dementor for failed first round wide receiver prospects.
So one snap where Chark is playing over QJ, it's a complete sell. So that's the only thing I know about that.
That's so fucking funny because he just did it to Minka.
He just did it to Minka.
It's over. Yeah, it's over.
And he did it to.
And then did he do it to Jameson Williams too?
He did it to Jameson Williams.
Yeah, he's the one meme.
Oh man!
Yeah. If you're not better than DJ Chark, you might be terrible.
Well, yeah. I guess this is where I should go hand up. I'm like drafting like uncorrelated, unstacked Quentin Johnson because. What if? What?
Because he was good against Michigan in college, right?
I'm really hoping you had something stronger than what if?
I guess the what if, the real life what if would be we used to have much different aging curve expectations for wide receivers. Rookie wide receivers would play and suck a lot. And I'm kind of ready for a wave of us being wrong about guys in year one and then going way too far and leaving them for dead. And then in year two, they rebound to some degree. I mean,
it worked for Jalen Reagor, right?
It's not going to have, that's the thing. The thing that's so different now is rookie wide receivers play all the time. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen way less often, but
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's not a bad point, Davis. I mean,
yeah,
it's a pretty bad point because I don't really believe
it's pretty
it.
Bad.
But so the thing is he might be better than the dust balls on his team. Like Josh Palmer stinks.
Right.
Lad McConkey, I saw the clip of him wearing the mushroom helmet the other day.
That was so bad.
It was so bad. They are not doing him any favors, letting him get photographed and videoed in the mushroom helmet.
And to me, Quentin Johnston was like very developmental, in my opinion. Like a lot of his production, including that Michigan game, it was like play action, deep post, coverage bust, and he picks up a bunch of yards. And then there were some screens, and then he had the athletic skills to make the first guy miss and then run out of bounds. Like to me, there was a work in progress to kind of filter in between the two of those things. And he had the athletic tools to do that. And he was a young player where like eventually maybe he can.
And you can tell when he's not thinking, he's actually pretty good. Remember the 85-yard catch from Easton Stick? Like when he's just in the decision, when he's not having to make any decisions and it's just bullets flying, he's all right. But that's not really the way the game is played anymore.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be a volume guy. I think the best case scenario is
10 touchdowns,
play action, deep shots. Herbert's just throwing absolute missiles. He has 2 catches for 80 yards, and we get Jameson Williams type of stuff. I feel like that would be
a wide receiver 67.
Yeah, that's
like
totally
fine. I think because I don't want to have any Palmer really at all.
It's Chark's second season is the upside case, really, right? Like he bombed his rookie season, second round pick, and then he was kind of awesome. He was like, we were like psyched to play this dude in DFS. He looked like he was an emerging, maybe not like superstar, but like one of a good young wide receiver in the league. And then that ended up being kind of the flash in the pan only season that really mattered. But I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers stuff too. I guess McConkey is getting up there, but it's so cheap. If you want to start in round 10 and grab like 4 Chargers players, it's not a terrible strategy, honestly. Like we could just be, I mean, honestly, I think we are a little bit wrong on the Chargers stuff and saying they're going to be so bad. And, going back to the 1990s, like Harbaugh's going to be a boomer and he's going to be run based, but I think it's ultimately going to be a pretty efficient offense, even if it's not high volume. Like,
the
you could run into some
Roman
touchdowns.
Offenses are always efficient. It's after that where you run into the problem.
Yeah. I mean, Greg Roman first year with Lamar Jackson was the third best offense in NFL history of the last decade.
But he does that happens. That effect is because the guys run. Is he going to turn Herbert into a dual threat? Because if so, then we are completely.
He made Alex. I mean, he made Alex Smith he turned Alex Smith into like a top 12 offense in San Francisco a couple of years.
Yeah, but I think that's sort of era specific. We pulled this. I was on the Roto-World pod and we pulled up Alex Smith's stats and they were like
20 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, for real. Like he had 23 touchdowns. Peak.
Well, my thing with Herbert is the guys around him are just awful. And like, I don't mind Justin Herbert as my second quarterback. Like, it's guys like Chase Brown, Rashid Shaheed, Jared Goff, Jacoby Myers, Tyjae Spears, Josh Palmer, Dalton Schultz. Like, those are the guys right around Justin Herbert. Like, I don't mind just taking Herbert as my quarterback too, and then backstacking it with Quentin Johnson or freaking Will Dissly or Vidal or whatever. That tier around Herbert's so bad that
guys, I read the wrong stat. He peaked at 18 touchdowns. You mentioned Dissly there. Dissly's I've drafted Dissly. Oh, not on Underdog yet. On DraftKings,
I've drafted him on Underdog.
I've drafted him on Underdog. Yeah.
So you think Dissly's the answer? Because they also have Hayden Hurst.
Oh,
so
Dissly got way more money than Hurst. I think
Hayden Hurst. I mean, I just did this on a show last week, so I don't want to belabor the point. But he had such a bad concussion last year, he forgot his name. He medically retired for like temporary amnesia. So like, shout out to him for rehabbing and getting back or whatever. But that feels like just like the most precarious situation I can imagine. So yeah, Dissly is my inconvenient truth. Talking about backdoor stacks, I mean, Justin Herbert is now so cheap that you can get him as a back. Like, you can go Herbert round 11, QJ round 13, Kamani Vidal round 14, Dissly round 18. You don't even have to do Dissly.
I'm in a bunch of slow drafts, and I'm doing stuff where I take Palmer as like my wide receiver 6 or 5, and then I set up the Herbert on the wrap
on the other side.
And if I get Herbert, awesome. And if I don't, I'll figure out I'm going to draft Drake May.
Well, then you have uncorrelated Josh Palmer. So what I do is I take Dontavian Wicks there because I think Wicks is a way better player and way better bet. And then I just figure the Herbert stuff out next because I'm in a bunch of slows too.
I will say, I mean, Herbert, I don't think Herbert's going to – I don't believe in this offense at all. But, like, I am willing to be humble if I'm paid for it. And the market's paying me to be humble on Justin Herbert, right? You're getting a big discount.
He'll be a spike week guy. He'll have a bunch of weeks where he has 186 passing yards. But Hayden, what do you think? There'll be Chiefs games. There'll be a shootout, one of those. Maybe they just absolutely smoke the Raiders one of these games. Like, there'll be like 4 or 5 real spike weeks.
When we get Chiefs versus Chargers week 17 on Wednesday, you guys will be drafting Justin Herbert in the 8th round. So
I've already got a bunch of Mahomes McConkey teams for this eventuality.
What if we get Chargers Raiders, man?
Yeah,
17th round.
We're
a pretty big swing here.
We are officially rooting for Raiders Buccaneers in week 17, so Peter and I can go be boots on the ground for the Laird Laube jersey swap in week 17.
Wow. Yeah, we need that. That.
All right, let's talk about Chuba Hubbard for some reason, I guess.
I don't think we need to.
No, we don't.
I really don't think we need to.
Yeah,
I wanted to hit the one last thing for news. Odell Beckham going to Miami. This is dropped Jonnu. This has dropped Malik Washington. What are our thoughts, Hayden? What do you think Odell has left in the tank after watching him last year in Baltimore?
It's a good landing spot for him because, like you guys mentioned, like they do so much of the motion stuff. These guys are just tired out there, so they can't play all the snaps. So when Jalen Waddle is exhausted, now it's Odell time to run the motion routes, and he's not going to be fantasy relevant. Jonnu Smith's a fine punt tight end, but yeah, I don't see it really mattering to anybody's individual projection.
Are you drafting
the tight end? Why is it affecting Jonnu Smith's ADP at all?
I think it's just the idea that Jonnu kind of looked like the clear third option in the passing game. Just like if you're scheming up touches to a player from a coaching perspective, and now that probably should be Odell, right? That was my thought.
Should it? This dude was useless to close last season.
Yeah, I will have a good 0.0% of Odell, and if anything, it makes it more likely that I do round 18 Malik Washington, because it's going to take Malik Washington from being like a 80% drafted player to like literally maybe 25% of Best Ball Mania drafts have him.
Why are we drafting Malik Washington again? I like the profile, but he's a 6th round pick.
No, we shouldn't be drafting Malik Washington.
It's fucking
we're bored. Yeah, this is our topic number 1. We're bored in May. What's going on with these rookies?
He gets on base, dude. He gets on base.
Yeah.
Tell us who the RB2s are on like 10 more depth charts and we won't. We just don't
That's
know
why
what
I'm
else to
drafting
do.
these awful tight ends in the last round.
No,
And
Tucker
who
Kraft, Dawson Knox, easy,
Disley
easy.
and-
Yeah.
Colby Parkinson, I'll throw on
Okay.
No, the Colby Parkinson thing is it's like congrats, you won the guy on the bench behind Tyler Higbee in week 17.
I'd like to see it. I think Higbee's total ass.
I think Higbee's done. Yeah,
Oh,
I think he
come
might get
on.
cut.
A lot of
Dude,
guys
his-
have tried. A lot of guys have tried to kill Tyler Higbee. Bryson Hopkins, Kendall Blanton.
Well, the way
Who was the guy you
play-
liked, the super athlete?
Oh,
Oh.
Jacob Harris.
Jacob Harris.
Harris,
Yes.
that guy was a stud.
A lot of guys have come.
guy
A lot
was
of
a
guys have
stud.
come for Tyler Higbee's racist
He was
throw.
he was Theo
the
Johnson
Rams
before
tight
Theo
end.
Johnson.
Yeah.
The late
Jacob
round
Higbee's
strategy
racist throw.
for this year is what if the Seahawks, all three of the tight ends that they had last year were all so good, and now that they're all separated from each other, there's correlation where like all three of them were studs. That's why they were in even rotation. You go Fant, Disley, Parkinson, and we're like, wow, that's why they were in a committee.
This
They're
is
all
like
so
if an
damn
AJ
good.
Brown and DK
They're all
Metcalf were
amazing.
together.
They're all so good. Actually,
If
but Noah Fant
that's
is the best
true-
late round tight end for sure.
If
Noah
that's
Fant is
true,
by
Noah
far the
Fant-
best late round
Yeah.
tight end.
Noah Fant's
Well,
good.
no, he's
By
not.
far.
He's
No,
not. He
No,
definitely
he
is not
is.
because he's exactly who he is and he's always been.
But his route rate's
Oh.
going to go up from like 55% to 75%.
So that would be the difference.
It's
is
the
his
David
route
it's the
rate.
David Njoku thing. Like when
Oh, yeah.
when they paid David Njoku that big contract after he was like a timeshare tight end, everyone was like, the Browns are so stupid. Like David Njoku sucks. Immediately that next year, he was awesome before he got hurt. Obviously, it's pattern matching to some degree, but these tight ends, like this late breakout thing for tight ends happens all the time. And like, who's playing snaps at tight end instead of Noah Fant in Seattle? I don't know who it is.
It's a rookie.
I'm worried we're going to learn
Maybe.
names because sometimes we learn names when the answer's like
Yeah.
his name's
I
Devin
think it was like
McGinnis.
a-
And he didn't even-
Trust
he
me, I
runs
was
40%
I was
routes
learning.
now.
Yeah, I was learning names in the Titans tight end room last year.
The
and I didn't like
the
it at all.
second name is as funny as it gets. It literally could not be funnier. The second guy on the R Lab
Austin
depth chart
Hooper?
it's Pharaoh Brown.
Oh,
Oh,
we're in good shape.
No, that's what you guys think.
No, we're in great
That's so
shape.
what you
No.
guys think, and then all of a sudden Tyler Mabry is playing 33%.
No, I would have been worried if you
snaps
guys
at
said
tight end.
Mercedes Lewis. I'd be like, shit.
yeah.
I think I just have been, minorly Fant pilled. It's just like I'm looking for any reason to stop taking Tucker Kraft and Dawson Knox. So this is a good reason.
I
To
do
that.
think there's like the late round tight ends. It's tough because so many of the guys get kind of fanted or either in the Hayden Hurst zone where they just like run, like who was the dude that we drafted on the Panthers like 4 years ago? Was real athletic and he was good for like exactly 1 minute.
Ian Thomas.
Ian Thomas. Yeah.
Ian Thomas. And then it's like, oh nope, it's just a rotation. Like there's like 5 teams potentially this year that just like essentially aren't playing a fantasy relevant tight end because no one's going to accumulate enough snaps.
But that's what you think though about the rotation stuff, and then all of a sudden a guy you've never heard of starts rotating in.
What do you
Bad-
mean?
This is the Noah Fant issue.
Yes, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's the Noah Fant issue. You give him 75, and then it's like Pharaoh Brown he only gets 20, but then this other dude gets 22.
But Tyler
and-
Mabry gets 8, and they
and
play
it's
a
over.
fullback. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think also Pete Carroll's gone in Seattle. Like I think the Will Disley thing was a Pete Carroll thing. I think the Parkinson thing was a. I don't think they're like philosophy.
No.
It's not like Seattle's philosophically committed to.
They
a
didn't even.
three-tight end
They but
rotation.
you need
yeah,
to
it's
just
be.
because
coach
they're all
there.
stars, and they had to.
I gotta
Yeah, because
correct
they're all
you.
so good.
I gotta correct you on this. Pete Carroll's not the head coach. He's still employed by the team.
What?
Yes.
Does he get
Pete
to set
Carroll,
the
like-
tight end rotation?
No.
He's in
What?
he's in like an advisory role now on the team. It's not they basically just realized we can't have an 85-year-old
Oh my
like,
god.
literally on
He's on it for just first because they won't pay him Social Security. He needs the money right now.
Why is he still employed by the team?
So like people treating this like brand new Seahawks like need to zoom out on the chart a little bit. Like I would not agree with that assessment. They kept the same quarterback.
It's a new offense though. Like that Huskies offense last year was so sick. Like they threw
I'm
the ball
not-
all
New
over the yard.
coordinator.
I'm not trying to be a downer on any of that. I just am saying it's not this is not like they didn't just become I don't know, the 49ers overnight or whatever.
I think generally with the last one I had on the tight ends is I think now is the time to do the late round tight end because we don't know who
Agree.
the RB2s are right now. And eventually we'll know that. And then at the same time, most likely the mid round running backs in August, their ADPs are going to go up. And I think that the tight ends in that range are going to slide down a little bit. So then you're basically you can draft the kind of Kyle Pitts cohort, the Mark Andrews cohort of guys. Maybe they're 5, 6, 7, 8 spots down in August, and then we don't have to draft as many.
Dude, if Mark Andrews going at pick 60 in August, I'm gonna have the biggest bag of anyone I've maybe ever had. That's I would love that.
I think I need to start taking more Fant though. Like this depth chart is brutal.
Yeah,
like
it's also like former first round pick, like really good athlete.
And drafted to be a receiver. I mean, that's like
I think his career yards per route run, if you look at it, it's like 1.5 or something. I totally made that up, but I think it's like pretty good.
It's been bad the last couple years, but
I gotta ask Winks a question though. Who is the offensive coordinator for Seattle now?
Ryan Grubb from Washington Huskies.
Okay, so if you're looking for a reason of how Fant's routes get cut, do you know who they
did? They take the guy that they from that offense.
They took Westover. They took the tight end from the Huskies.
Was he a draft pick or a UDFA?
I assume a UDFA. Jack Westover.
I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I mean, look, like probably it's going to be fine, but
Sam, Noah Fant has a career yards per route run of 1.47. How does it make you feel to just know that off the top of your head?
Like I'm on that spectrum of sex having versus when you're drafting.
What is Hunter Henry's career yards per route run?
We know where to find you on the chart.
Yeah, you know where to find me on the chart. Hunter Henry 1.3.
That sounds right. No, I think it might be
sounds right.
It might be a little low.
Just sort by the touchdowns. Who cares about yards at tight end?
It's literally so true. Sort by fucking touchdowns.
Yeah, 1.48 for Hunter Henry. The honest truth is that you can guess 1.5 for most tight ends.
Most tight ends. Yeah.
Pat Freiermuth was the other guy that has a little bit of post-hype sleeper. Yeah. And there's no one else in that offense to throw the ball to. We know that Arthur Smith fantasizes about his tight ends.
About Darnell Washington.
I was thinking about this.
That's a problem. He's
gonna be a blocker. All the play action
I
stuff.
think they're legit.
Blocking.
They're legit gonna, I think, could just convert him to tackle eventually.
But the whole point is not to tip your hand. So you put Darnell Washington. Well, we're gonna run the ball. We're definitely gonna run the ball. And then nope, Darnell Washington's running the world's slowest route.
Who is Darnell Washington if not fancy Michael Pruitt? Honestly.
Yeah.
What is the Steelers' plan in 3 wide receiver sets? Are they just not going to do them this year?
They're not doing them.
Freiermuth's going to be the slot receiver, basically. And it's just going to be Roman Wilson and Pat Freiermuth out on the routes with Pickens and Darnell Washington in there to block and all the play action stuff. Like, Pat Freiermuth's going to have, like, the targets per route.
Oh, no, you guys are so wrong. You guys are so wrong about this. Van Jefferson is playing ahead of Roman Wilson. Come on.
Van Jefferson is also a good DJ Chark
Van Jefferson is like a super elite.
He's a mentor.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
Every route that he runs ahead of Roman Wilson, we have to lower Wilson one spot in the ranks.
Yeah.
I mean, Van Jefferson is like a really good run blocker. That was like his thing. That was like his selling point.
Guys, this depth chart is insane.
So bad.
Calvin Austin, Denzel Mims.
I love Fryer.
Quez Watkins, Des Fitzpatrick, Scott Miller, Marcus Callaway.
This is a year memories of a round 18 pass.
This is literally guys we shouldn't have drafted. Yeah.
Memories of a round 18 pass.
Well, Marcus Callaway was memories of round 8 passed.
Yeah, because he caught
one
pass in the preseason.
Okay.
I forget why.
I do want to talk about Justin Fields here real quick because this is officially where I've reached. I'm completely jumping the shark as someone who just wants to win $1.5 million playing fantasy football. If I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, I really need 13 points in week 13 when Mahomes is on bye or whatever and taking Bo Nix. When it's like, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if Russell Wilson retired from football tomorrow, we know exactly what the market would do. Fields would come all the way back up. He would go ahead of Dak. He would go ahead of Kyler. he would go right next to Joe Burrow in like the 7th round. And he is also completely protected from sucking at fantasy because he'll just run. Like he will just run. Like you call a pass play for him, Arthur Smith, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna run. Like I think you got to start working him in, especially on I think elite quarterback teams, if this makes sense, where you have Hurts or Allen or whatever, where you really are just wanting a unique 31 ball out of nowhere, and you don't have to stack him either. You could take him totally naked. So that's where I'm at.
I've been sitting here in the 190s just waiting for Justin Fields to come down, and here he is. He's here. So
Yeah.
I think it's time. I think it's a great point. He fell to the range. There's very little opportunity cost. Hayden just noted that the late rounds we don't know what to do. Why not draft Justin Fields and tack him on to elite quarterback, but why not tack him on to Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence?
That's also a good way to do it. Yeah.
And we're getting to the point where he's not going to be drafted every single time, especially if his
Correct.
ADP falls. And we're going to get the unique builds. Like, let's say Russell Wilson is like, oh, he's totally cooked. He's starting in August. Like, now you're going to have the unique build. So it's like, it's now or never. And for those type of guys, I feel like isn't that what is going to happen? Like, Russell Wilson is going to be cooked and like is like kind of a dog, maybe even to start week 1.
Russell Wilson is cooked. Like this dude
cooked.
Sean Payton came. Remember Sean Payton? Offensive guru Sean Payton, he took a look at Russ and was like, no, get the fuck out of here.
He said, get Bo Nix in the building for me right now. I can't live with Russell Wilson. You go to the University of Auburn and get me Bo Nix now.
He saw a dude throwing screen passes on Saturday and was like, that guy. I need that guy right now.
Bo Nix also a fantastic 18th round pick.
The rushing stuff with Nix is a little under 36 rushing touchdowns in college.
Yeah, there's no way from leadership. Mike Tomlin, you got who's going to come in and be like the Steelers mindset they want, Russell Wilson or the guy that like the Bears locker room was in love with. It's Justin Fields is starting by the end of the season for sure.
And even if he doesn't, neither were your other shitty 18-round picks anyways.
You don't need Bo Nix's points in week 6 on your Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers team anyways. What you do need is you need to find someone who can go nuclear in a given week. So
Sam and I have a bet on Justin Fields of whether or not he starts week 1. He got it in good there. Do you want to go heads up points? Justin Fields or Devontae Parker?
Eagles wide receiver 3. I don't know, man. It could be.
Hey, Johnny Wilson, eraser. Come on.
Yeah. Man, all I'll say on Justin Fields is like, he's a backup quarterback, and they're starting quarterback in the draft. That's all I got to say.
Nix, I guess I should go back to that. Like, Nix is kind of like a mystery box in the sense of like, what is the Broncos offense even look? They have no wide receiver talent.
What do you think Bo Nix, his average rushing yards and rushing touchdowns per game was in college? Bo Nix.
His rushing touchdowns are shockingly high.
It's like 1.2 rushing touchdowns per game or something.
Yeah, and he runs for like 30 yards a game.
But keep in mind, like, this, like he used like the Gus Malzahn Auburn stuff, and then like
I'm just talking about Oregon.
Yeah, well, playing in Oregon is cheating. You basically play 9 exhibition games and then 2 real games a year at Oregon. I'm not trying to take anything away from Nix. Like I like the idea, but Fields has a demonstrably better single game ceiling.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Nix is a good pick. You're getting job security. And when I say job security, I'm thinking about the fantasy playoffs. Who's getting started in the fantasy playoffs? You don't get that with Daniel Jones, who goes in that range. You don't get that with Gardner Minshew, who goes in that range. You have, I think, much stronger job security for the fantasy playoffs with the rookie quarterback who they just drafted early in the first round. And then, there's a little bit of a mystery box element with the rushing. Like if he runs a little bit around the goal line, in some ways, like the Oregon stuff should have made him run less, right? It's all like gimmicky short stuff. What's this dude taking off?
He's a 5-star recruit. Like this guy's like a legit decent athlete.
Yeah.
Like he had 97th percentile EP every play. Like you don't just walk into that. Like he took a lot of strays, and I get it. But even when you remove their screens and the RPOs, like the dude was still lighting it up. So I'm interested.
He's a better
I like it.
he's a better quarterback prospect than Penix.
And Bryce.
I agree.
I mean, who knows?
Bryce is too small, man. Can we get real for 1 second?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bryce
Denny Carter had this last year. He's just like, he's too small, it's not going to work, and then boom.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
I mean, Nick's, the thing is Nick's kind of looks like what a quarterback looks like. That's the interesting thing. You know, like you just kind of look at him in the huddle, look at him in the pads. He just kind of looks like a quarterback, which I don't know. That adds like 2 fantasy points per game.
That's 2 starts per year, I would say.
It matters, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely adds starts.
So it's like why Sam Darnold still has a job is he's got like the square he's got the square jaw and the wide shoulders. So it's just like sure, whatever, $10 million a year. Why not?
How do you guys think Brock Osweiler got paid back in the day? I mean, come on.
Brock was almost looked too much like a quarterback.
He's too big.
He was red flag, he was too big. Same with Levis. Levis like looks almost AI quarterback. And it's like, all right, we've gone too far.
It's too far. Yeah, they took it too far.
The biceps is ridiculous.
That's a good point.
All right. We got to get out of here. We've gone off the deep end here. We'll end today's show like we always do. Best closing line values. Does anyone... So, again, for people who haven't followed us before, we're not predicting like the best picks. We're just saying who do we think is going to rise the most in ADP by the close of drafts compared to today. So I'm scrolling through names.
Did we have guests do this?
Yeah, we had guests do this. Yeah, we had guests do this last year. Hayden, go ahead.
Blake Corum, he's 130th overall.
That's very interesting.
I think the running backs will go up just generally. But I also think there's like huge upside if Blake Corum is like in the mix for any of those snaps. If something happens to Kyren Williams, Blake Corum, I think, goes into the 3rd, 4th round, somewhere in there. This offense is ready to go. I don't see him falling more. Like, who's even the RB3 on the Rams? It's like very clearly him.
Ronnie Rivers.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's not going to take a lot for Blake Corum to get a bunch of snaps in training camp, especially the way that McVay treats training camp and preseason stuff. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Blake Corum to be like very much in the news, and like he touched the ball 400 times every season. So it's not easy to paint the picture of how Blake Corum's like the guy you need in best ball this year.
Okay. I'm gonna save the Rashee Rice bullet for another week. So if Corinne wants to take it, he can. I'm gonna take someone very similar, actually right next to him in ADP. I'm gonna take Zach Charbonnet. Like literally almost the exact same thing. The 3rd running back is like a non-existent person named Kenny McIntosh. I think we'll start to get some good vibes about, obviously this brand new look Seattle Seahawks team. But really, it's just he actually worked into the timeshare we wanted him to be in last year, but got cheaper, which doesn't make a ton of sense. I think he should go ahead of Spears, Elliott, and Gus Edwards, probably all, honestly.
I'm going to go a little more boring. I'm going to say Josh Palmer. We talked about
God.
I took him the first time. We're doing duplicates, so whatever. Yeah, but we can do duplicates.
No,
we can do
duplicates. So we can dupe each other, but we can't dupe ourselves.
Okay. I'm gonna go, and let me go Drake Maye then. We talked about him. I'll go Drake Maye. He's finally
this is a bad use of this pick. He is not gonna go higher.
You're right.
All right, I'm going to go Justin Fields. You already said it. No,
I'm going Justin Fields. We talked about Justin Fields. He's finally in the range. He's going to go up.
That's fine.
He's going to take the job. I got to get even on Justin Fields.
Yeah, that was a smart pick, taking a backup quarterback. All right, I'm going to go give me Jaleel McLaughlin.
Damn, Jaleel was the other guy I was going to take.
That's a good
Jaleel McLaughlin. I tweeted out some propaganda today already. As we know, I'm a huge market mover in the space, so that should adjust accordingly. But now, I think the Denver stuff is pretty ambiguous. I think if you really look into Javonte Williams' NFL career, it's pretty mediocre. He has this really bad knee injury. Sometimes guys just don't come back from really bad knee injuries. I think Sean Payton has a guy in McLaughlin he likes. I wouldn't be surprised if it's sees a bigger role next year. And I think we'll probably get some training camp buzz on that.
Yeah, Jaleel is like, get him on all your teams and all, like, trade for him in Dynasty, do it all right now, because we're gonna start I don't know, fantasy, like JJ Zacharyson will put something out in his draft guide or whatever that shows all the cumulative running back receptions in Sean Payton's offenses, and then everyone will pick up on it, and they'll realize that Jaleel McLaughlin is going to catch 77 passes, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Well, where's Samaje Perine in this example? Because
that's
cut.
He's like a Buccaneer or something.
If he's cut, I mean, I've been kind of waiting, because I took a ton of McLaughlin in the big board, and I've been cooling off a little bit as I'm like, when is this cut happening?
No, but here's the thing. This is like the reverse of the McKinnon situation, where last offseason we knew it's like McKinnon was going to be on the team even when he wasn't. Underdog didn't even change his team designation even when he was a free agent, because it was so obvious he was coming back. You don't take Estime in the 4th round, then sign Watson, and then be like, when we really like these guys pass catching, if you're planning on having Perine on the team. I mean, maybe it's Javonte who's not going to be on the team.
Does he hate this dude? You should be cutting this guy as soon as possible. If you're going to cut him, don't have him sit around on your roster. He doesn't have a chance to make another team. It's kind of move on.
He wants to see if the rookies can play. He wants
I guess.
I think that's what it is. He wants to see Estime and Watson in person and be like, okay, are they good enough where we can dump Perine? I mean, it's $3 million. Blake Watson, some UDFA they signed.
No, he was good in college though. He I don't know if I don't know anything about his combine, but I know that he was he was the 19th Memphis running back to get.
Hey, if you go undrafted in this class, I don't know that you were that good in college.
The Memphis running back bit's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's been
53 receptions. It's not nothing, but yeah, it's
just Samaje Perine. They can say it's not negligible money. They can save $3 million cutting him. It's like, what's the point? But anyways, Hayden, tell the people what's going on at Underdog. What content are you working on? Any other contests? Anything you want to tease?
Just in general, Underdog, we're going to be releasing more different types of contests this year, more price points than ever. We could have made BBM bigger if we wanted to. We decided to keep it the same so we can unlock some more contests. So there will be something for everybody out there, and then we'll be doing YouTube shows about it on Underdog Fantasy. So that's it.
Awesome. Davis, what you got going on in TakeCast? Any more backup running backs coming on the show or anything along those lines?
Maybe getting Keefed on to do a whole podcast series on Sitting Bull. We'll see. That's kind of in the works right now. Check out all the stuff on. If you guys want to see the programming that I'm wearing this suit coat for, check out Sports Grid on your smart TV.
Pat, Legendary Upside. Any more tree articles coming out?
I'm done writing about trees in the rainforest, but check that out that one was completely free on legendaryupside.com. A little best ball strategy article called The Tree of Jacquard. We've got Underdog rankings updated daily, DraftKings rankings updated daily, FFPC rankings are launching soon. We're going to launch Drafters rankings in a few weeks. So a lot of great stuff over there. And speaking of Underdog, we got a promo going where you can get $50 in Underdog credit if you sign up for a yearly subscription. You go to legendaryupside.com/perks to learn about that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Hayden, thanks again for joining us. We will be back. Yeah, be back next week, 3:30 p.m. We'll see all of you guys then. Peace.